game to do tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy day, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Tell the people this, Bert. How do you do that? Like, people listen, okay? They're out and about on a weekday night, and it just so happens that there's an evening where, the one team could be here in Denver. Let's say the Avalanche are playing over there at Ball Arena, and the Nuggets are off in Portland or wherever they may be, and the two teams play at the same time, and yet people are flipping back and forth between stations, and they're like, Mark Bertinoli is hosting both of these events. How does he do it? How does this man studio operate two games in two different places at the exact same time, not saying all the same things? How do you do your job?
God-given talent, my brother. God-given No. Actually, tonight, the way we're going to do it is just make it the hell up as we go along.
Good.
We're just winging this bad boy tonight. But usually, we have a pretty good game plan about, like, okay, here's how long the pregame's going to take. Here's when the Nugget game starts. So we know when that pregame's going to hit. We know when tip-off is going to be, because tip-off and puck drop are almost all – well, puck drop is always 08 after the hour or 38 after the bottom of the hour, no matter where you are.
Okay.
Unless you're on a national television game, it gets extended. So you know what markers you have to hit. You just got to find the space in there to get there. And basically what happens is something goes wrong, and then we just make Springer do something. We're like, yo, Spring, cover this segment, bro.
That's what we got Mark Springer for. He's the radio machine.
That's usually how it
You
plays
never know
out.
when you need to have him step in. I have done very limited studio hosting in my life.
That's a great gig.
I find it really hard to do.
Oh, really?
Because it's the amount of the amount of like play it on the fly that you have to do. The thing that always that you impress me with so much is, you are so good at, here are my highlights, here's how I lead into them. It's all happening, and it's chaos everywhere, and then, like, boom, it's halftime show, and it's your time to shine, and, you already have to be prepared with things that may have happened, 90 seconds earlier or whatever it may be, and boom, have them ready to go, and you always do, and I do not say this to be, nice or anything, because I'm really not that nice.
No, that's true.
But you're really friggin' good at it.
Thanks, man.
I can't.
Thanks.
I don't want your job.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I'm better with this
All right,
nonsense.
well, let me ask you about your job, because I think me and Springer were talking about this earlier this week.
Yeah.
In a week like this,
Some things happen.
where you have massive sports news going on.
Yeah.
Massive sports news in this, like the entire nation. Look at one city, and it's the Denver sporting scene, especially the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
And you are not on the air. You're not on the air. And I can imagine, I think me and Spring had this conversation, I can imagine Lindahl, like, not handling it well and screaming at his radio alone in his car, like doing a 20-minute segment by himself, for himself, just angry, like just nobody's around, and he's just like, Sean Payton never gave Russ the chance to succeed, and I think you might be. I can't read. Yes. Like, I can imagine Andy just yelling at his radio in his car, doing a segment by himself.
Yes.
And you not doing that.
No.
Not doing that at all.
No. When I'm not at work, I'm really not at work.
Right.
I am plugged. I'm plugged into something else altogether. Like I watched the Nuggets game on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Because it was perfectly situated between two family events and right during an over sugar hyped kids nap. So I got to sit there and watch Nikola Jokic make 18 free throws. So that was outstanding. The Russ news, I've been very dialed into it. I've covered all. I've read it all. I know who's mad about what. But I wasn't pining to run in here.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Like you and Andy are two sides of a different coin. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I very much embrace my paid time off.
I feel you, man.
Yes, the company
work-life balance, brother.
grants it to much like, hey, you know what, Russell Wilson, you gave him an injury guarantee in your contract, and much like Russell Wilson, I appreciate the benefits that my company allows me for having this job. One of which is a paid time off policy, and I very much enjoy it.
Yeah, just check out, brother. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
man. Keep that balance right.
It's what I try to do. But a lot has happened this week, and And yes, here I am. And yes, we prepare for Sunday's Jarrett Stidham and Easton Stick Bowl.
Yeah, the excitement, feel it.
Yeah. Total on that game, by the way. Did you see that total, Bert?
No. Is something ridiculous?
36 and a half. 36 and a half.
That's got to be the lowest number of the weekend,
you better
right?
believe it is. Yes. No, it's so funny because I honestly, I don't think this number is all that much higher with Russ in there because it's not as though the Broncos score a bunch of points or anything in there, regardless of whom their quarterback may be.
Yeah.
But a Jarrett Stidham starting debut in Denver v. Easton Stick kind of showdown, Broncos-Chargers. Yeah, I would say that this game, the game itself has lost a lot of luster. I firmly believe that Jarrett Stidham is a part of the future plans of this team at quarterback, regardless of what his performance is over the final two games. Because the Broncos are going to have cheap quarterbacks. And Jarrett Stidham is a cheap quarterback.
Yeah.
Our buddy Nick Kosmider wrote today that Jameis Winston could be out there. We could be looking at a Jameis Winston, Jarrett Stidham kind of QB competition next year, which,
hell yeah,
man, nobody's excited for
pine
that, right?
for the days of Trevor Siemian versus Paxton Lynch.
right.
Around
Shout
these
out
parts.
Drew Lock.
When you hear something like that, but that's what we're going to be headed for.
It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be fun. And I'm getting, you know what? When the news broke, and Springer can back me up on this, when the news broke on Tuesday, for some reason, I was immediately angry at the Broncos as a franchise and it took me a day to be like, you know what? It's a business. Sports is a business, and the number one goal for these franchises is to make money. It's not necessarily winning. Winning is great, but making money is better, and you got to keep the books balanced. So,
well, the good news about the NFL is you can do both of those things. You can win, and you can line your pockets exorbitantly.
It's a money printing machine.
Owning an NFL franchise, it's a good gig. It's a pretty good gig.
Yeah.
And even having dropped $4.65 billion to be able to purchase the franchise, as the Walton Penner Group did, they're doing just fine. Okay, they're doing very, very well. The issue that the Broncos and that Sean Payton very quickly discovered when he got here this year is I see a very hard ceiling on what I'm capable of being able to do with this player as my quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a season where I think that Sean Payton he had to come to grips with what his quarterback was. He had to come to grips with what his team was. He had to get Vance Joseph to pull his head out of wherever it was to begin the season.
Did we really?
They had to get their personnel straightened out, which they eventually did.
But how long do you think it took him to get to that point, that realization? At what point during the season did he look around and go, you know what? I misjudged a lot of this when I was talking about I'd be upset if we don't make the playoffs earlier in the year, before the season even started.
Oh, it's the Miami game.
Oh, when they gave up the 70?
It was the Miami game.
Okay.
I have no doubt in my mind. That was the day where Sean was like, oh, I didn't know it was this bad.
Yeah.
Okay? And Sean Payton has done a marvelous job coaching this team this year. Okay? Regardless of personality, regardless of his demeanor, how he carries himself, how he treats the people around him, breaking news, Sean Payton's an a-hole.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we all knew that before this guy walked through the door.
But as a fan, we just want wins. We don't have to deal with him. He's not yelling at me.
Exactly. And Sean Payton was going to do his thing. And the way that, especially today, I feel like there's a lot of national media reaction to this thing, and we're gonna get to that audio. Much of the reaction seems to be like this pearl clutching that is happening.
Yes.
Get me my fainting couch. I can't believe that Sean Payton didn't treat Russell Wilson
he's
well.
He's a big meanie. He's a big meanie. Yes, there is a national
from the moment he walked through the door. Yes. This dude has shown us exactly who he is.
What I talk with Russell about is none of your business.
None of your business.
Right. Not my hump. Right.
Yes, and it's
what's the question?
Russell was treated so unfairly. Based on what? He played 15 games. He got 15 games for this dude. He went 7-8. You got 15 games of Sean Payton standing over on the sideline going, that's not my offense.
But you don't think there's a PR problem? You don't think there's a problem with national personalities calling the Denver Broncos organization classless?
I have look. People are going to react to this thing whatever way they're going to react, and nationally, that's what they're doing right now, and they're calling it all classless.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot of that reaction is pretty damn laughable given the way that Russ has carried himself since he has been a member of the Denver Broncos. This year, you got way less of it, and it's as though there's this reaction of see, Russ learned. No, Sean Payton put him in his place because Sean Payton was looking around and going, I had the 28th rated quarterback in the NFL a year ago. Look at what a disaster, an embarrassing, humiliating mess that this thing was before I rolled in here. There's a reason why I have this job right now, and the dope that you hired last year got fired 15 games into the thing. Like, Sean Payton walked through the door saying, I see a mess, which he told USA Today that, and Jarrett Bell, and it was trashing anybody in the organization that would listen to him. I mean, if you wanted to call the Denver Broncos classless, look back to that day where the head coach is throwing his GM under the bus. He is throwing the team president under the bus. He is throwing his quarterback under the bus. He's throwing the previous coaching staff under the bus.
Well, there is a narrative out there that
this
Payton
has been there the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah,
this is exactly what's been going on. This is Sean Payton's MO. This is how he runs this operation. And if anybody is stunned by it today, and again, national media discourse, fine. You guys can all play the world's tiniest violin for Russell Wilson all that you need to. This is what the Broncos signed up for. You don't go hiring Sean Payton and not realizing, oh, man, we got a guy that's a little rough around the edges here and isn't always necessarily thinking about everybody's feelings.
So you think Greg Penner and that ownership group, do you think they expected what's going on right now? This kind of heat, this kind of pressure, whatever that's happening right now?
No, I think what they expected was that Sean Payton was going to magically repair Russell Wilson and fix their massive financial blunder by giving him $160 million guaranteed. I firmly believe that they thought that was going to happen. Okay? That's why they hire Sean Payton. That is why they built the organization the way that they did and give Sean Payton the power that they did was because they wanted to fix Russ. You go pay Ben Powers and you go pay Mike McGlinchey. You invest in the offensive line. You're going to take Russell Wilson off the high dive. And Sean Payton did that. It just turns out like that's cool. You took him off the high dive. He's not that great of a swimmer. Okay, you still got to get him the kickboard a little bit. And Sean Payton has done that in the way that he's called his offense this year, and it's resulted in a team that is exactly middle of the pack offensively, which is what the Broncos have been for the better part of almost a decade now, ever since Peyton Manning walked out the door. Really, since the end of the good Peyton Manning, which was roughly, the first 2/3 of the 2014 season. But that's what this organization has been. And I believe that they think that Sean Payton was going to fix it, and Sean went to them and he said, I can't fix it with that guy in there.
And they said, all right.
Yeah.
They said, okay. So how long are you going to give Sean Payton to figure it out? Because now if all this plays out with Russ and they actually have to cut him before March and he's gone and you take that cap hit this year and in 2025.
Yeah, which they're going to.
You just don't have that, and you don't have that space. You have to make do with lower level players who will take those kind of contracts. So
you're gonna have to be a younger football team.
How long is it gonna take now? How long are you gonna give Sean Payton to because listen, I think at the very even before this season started, I think a lot of people were like, listen, man, Sean Payton's gonna figure out what's going on with this team this season, make massive changes in the offseason, and we'll see what happens next year.
Let me tell you, Bird, this is the way that or at least this is how I would approach it. Okay? Now, I can't speak for Greg Penner, but this is how I would approach this impasse that the organization is at right now. I would say to Sean Payton, and you talk about how long. To me, it's not a matter of how long. It's a if then. And if you want to do this, fine, but we better see a viable plan, a viable direction forward at that position, and we better see it quickly, and we better see progress and a plan of development, which I think is what the Broncos are going to have to do, right? a clear directive when it comes to development and a clear directive of this is what we can do to win right now, this is what we're doing to win later, and this is what we'll have to do in terms of having to, overdose on wheatgrass shots, the cost of having to let Russell Wilson go.
Yeah, so you're just looking for a roadmap. You just want a roadmap.
That's what I would say.
You just want to see the team say, "Here's the plan. We have a plan. We're just not making this up as we go along."
Oh, that had to have been the thing in the meeting. If Sean is going to ownership, and according to all of the reporting that we were told, is that George Paton and Sean Payton both answer to Greg Penner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right, fine. So these conversations have been in the work for some time. Like you don't go to a player and say you have to waive your 2025 injury guarantee, otherwise we're going to bench you right now. You do not do that without ownership firmly at your back.
Yeah.
As you go and do that.
It happened right after the KC win in October.
Yes.
So do you think they had that? Do you think they had that meeting before the season even started?
That's one where it's you don't go into that meeting without being like, okay, that's fine if you want to do this, but I need to know where this goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, I can't sign off on any of this.
Yeah.
And these conversations, it's funny, Bert. You say all that. All I can say is I would hope. I would really hope those conversations were taking place.
Right. And it wasn't like, oh man, we just beat Kansas City. You know what? We got to figure something out. Let's just go talk to Russ and see if he'll waive that injury guarantee.
I need to see balance sheets. Like I need to see all of this has to be produced and put directly in front of me. Your analytics people need to have been on this. Your salary cap people need to have been on this, and keep a tight circle with whoever you trust around the building. And obviously the Broncos were able to do that. There wasn't a ton of this stuff being able to leak out.
No,
like, good on Sean Payton for being able to close ranks around what was going on inside the building. But if I'm Greg Penner, and hopefully if I'm Sean Payton, I'm smart enough to recognize I'm going to have to be able to answer every single one of these questions.
Yes.
And I'm going to have to be able to give a satisfactory answer to every single one of these questions that is going to be heaved at me if I'm going to be able to then move forward.
Why do you think they thought they could ask that question of Russ and his agent and not have the NFL and the NFLPA jump in with like, what are you guys doing?
I have no idea.
Like somebody had to bring that up in the meeting,
dude.
right?
That is
somebody had to.
That is seriously some huevos to go to a guy and to drop that on them.
Right, especially after you just beat Kansas City, a team you haven't won against in 2 decades. Yeah, and you get the Green Bay win, you get the Kansas City win, and then they're like, "Hey, man, listen, we're gonna sit you down. We don't care how well you're playing. We're going to sit you down if you don't figure out this injury guarantee and just get rid of it."
It's wild. It's absolutely
crazy,
wild. That part of it is nuts. That's the part of it. Look, I can make a case for Sean Payton thinking in performance-based ways. Not for these last 2 games of the year. The timing of this thing is so odd and makes so little sense to me right now. Why you think you're a better team with a guy that has. Well, he's taken, 3 snaps all year, and they're all handoffs?
Right.
Whatever that may be. That part of it is bizarre. The part of it where Sean Payton was looking at Russell Wilson and saying, I know how this ends, okay? I know what the future portends for me with this guy as my quarterback. That part of it makes complete sense to me. The other ways in which the Broncos carried themselves through all of this, at least in terms of going to him and threatening him with benching over the injury guarantee, that part of it is nuts to me.
When you were watching the New England Denver Bronco game, which was absolutely a crazy, weird game, but
that game was nuts.
That game was drunk, bro. The second half of the game was super drunk. But were you sitting there thinking, you know what? They should go to Jarrett Stidham after this one. They should, and it never even occurred to me.
At no point.
Never even occurred to me ever that was the situation that was going to happen.
No. At no point did I think that was the way that this entire thing was going to go down. Again, did we all know that Sean had enough of Russ? Yeah, that was blatantly obvious to anybody with eyeballs, okay? You could all see it on your television, even though whatever he says to Russell is none of our business. That part of it you could see. The part about benching him now, I didn't see it coming. I truly didn't see it coming. I thought it would at least get to the end of the year. with a few days of hindsight, I can look at it and say, okay, I kind of get it. It's Kreckman and Lindahl. That's Mark Bertinoli. He's in there. He's firing questions at me. I like this. This is good. This is making me get focused. All right. We have a lot to do today on this show. Yes, we do have the Jarrett Stidham Easton Stick Bowl that we got to preview. Jeff Legwold coming up at 20 minutes after 4 o'clock. Nuggets with a huge one tonight against OKC. The Avalanche are in St. Louis. A lot is happening. It's Friday afternoon. I'm glad to be with you on Altitude Sports Radio. Yeah, Scott Friday on the Kreckman and Lindahl Show. Hope everybody enjoyed the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl from earlier today. Notre Dame, a resounding victory over Oregon State. One might even say they pounded the Beavers today. Right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Yes, that was what everybody got to hear. By the way, after the game, Marcus Freeman, the coach at Notre Dame, he was he had a large cooler full of Frosted Flakes dumped upon him.
Not quite as cool as the mayo or the Pop-Tart.
No milk.
Oh.
They just dumped dry Frosted Flakes upon him.
No, man, you can't. That's nothing, right? That's not. Why would you do that?
Spring suggested like a cannonball into an oversized bowl of Frosted Flakes.
Yeah. Like a ball pit, like one of them rubber ball pits, and you just fill it up with cereal.
But you got to put milk in it.
You got to put milk in it, right?
Yes.
You got to put milk in it, or it ain't cereal, man. Nobody eats dry cereal.
By the way, Frosted Flakes versus Cinnamon Toast Crunch. What is the best of the post-cereal milks?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm.
Cinnamon Toast, isn't that what Kevin Garnett called?
I believe so. Do you want to finish that sentence,
No,
Bert?
I don't want to finish that sentence, man. I like my job. No. Whoa. But that was great. Yeah, KG, man, one of the great trash talkers of all time. Mello was fiery about that one.
I would imagine that would upset somebody.
Like he went after
that could damage some sensibilities. Yes. If anybody is unaware what we're referring to right now, Kevin Garnett in a bit of trash talk with Carmelo Anthony back in the time. Melo was here. This was pre-New York, right?
Yes. I think that was, he was still playing for the Nugs.
Yeah, Carmelo was here, and Kevin Garnett said something to the effect of a certain part of Carmelo Anthony's wife, Lala, that part of her anatomy was similar in
keep swimming, brother. Keep treading water, man.
Flavor profile to that particular breakfast cereal. Do you think I did okay there?
Yeah. I think the people get it, man. I think the people get it, right? Spring, you understand what crackers are, right?
Towing that line, baby.
Very much. It's a towing of that particular line. Spring, do we got Russ? Do we have Russell
we do,
Wilson?
Yes.
Okay. So today, Russell Wilson, the Broncos' backup quarterback, the Broncos' very expensive backup quarterback, Russell Wilson, got a chance to speak to the media today in the locker room, and it doesn't seem as though Russell Wilson is terribly interested in either taking this in stride or in covering up for requests that may have been made of him by the organization that he plays for. We talked about the bye week request after the Broncos beat the Kansas City Chiefs that was made of Russell Wilson. Russ, did that actually happen? This is from today inside the Bronco locker room.
Yeah.
What can you say about that?
Yeah, they just during we beat the Chiefs. They came up to me during the bye week and beginning of the bye week on Monday or Tuesday, and they told me that if I didn't change my contract, my injury guarantee, that I'd be, I'd be benched for the rest of the year. And I think we had 9 games left or so. I was definitely disappointed about it, and it was a process throughout the whole week, for a whole bye week, and we just came off beating the Chiefs, played a pretty good game against the Chiefs. We just came off of that, so I was excited, obviously, for us fighting for the playoffs and get on a hot streak. And and then NFLPA and NFL got involved or whatever, I think, but at some point. But I think for me, I came here to play here, to win. I knew it was going to be a process I signed a 7-year deal to, for us to go and play hard, and that's my goal every time I step into the white lines, is give everything I have. I want to be here, I want to play here, I want to be able to win here, I want to win championships here, I want to give my all every week, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what the score is, and I want to be the best teammate and leader that I can be in the midst of it all, and so that's why I was out here at practice every day, and I told Jared I'll help him and lead and do whatever it takes and keep the guys going and try to lead the right way. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. I think winning is a habit, mentality-wise, focus-wise, and the approach. No matter if you're the 1, if you're the 2, no matter what, should never change. And I love this game. I love this team, and I love the teammates that I got to. And I just, it's a disappointing thing for sure. It's definitely been tough on me for the past several weeks, knowing it and all that. But at the same time, I love this game and what God's granted me with.
Wow. Okay, so that was For a moment there, I feel like we were talking to a living, breathing, warm-blooded organism.
Yeah.
And then
he did go back to Robot Russ.
He misfired for a moment. He went back to Rustbot. And he wanted to lead and all that. That's all he knows. Blah blah blah. And then he turned back into a human again at the end. His heart grew 3 sizes that day, and then he was able to admit, I am disappointed, and it's been tough knowing this for the last several weeks and all of that. But that's about as close to candid reaction that you're going to get from Russell Wilson. And right now, it doesn't seem as though he's at all worried about pulling punches. He talked about, look, we had just beaten Kansas City. Now, that day, Russ threw, yes, they beat Kansas City, and yes, Russ threw 3 touchdown passes. He also, 6 yards an attempt, 12 of 19 for $114. He got sacked 6 times that day. Denver's defense carried the day and intercepted Patrick Mahomes twice. That was why the Broncos won that very day. He also, they recovered 3 fumbles. They absolutely dominated in the turnover margin, which is how they went on the 5-game win streak. So, you're Sean Payton. Like, yeah, you're thrilled you just beat Kansas City, but you go back and you look at the tape and you're like,
it wasn't because of Russ.
This dude ain't it.
Yeah.
This dude is not it. And Russ can talk about we won this game. Sean Payton wants his offense run in a manner in which a quarterback actually can stand back in the pocket and process the different options that are available and hit receivers when they're actually, in their routes and not having to react to playground football while Russ does the spin move going on back there. Like that's all what is going on. That's all in the entire context of what has happened right here. Now, what Russ has decided to do, for his sake of the PR battle, because this is a PR battle, and this is going to go on, okay? Mm-hmm. There's going to be Sean sources. There's going to be Russ sources. This is going to be a saga, okay? I saw a tweet from Ben DiNucci of, I could write a damn book about this season, about what has been going on behind closed doors with this team. And yes, that is all what is going on here. Russ's attempt at, I'm a sympathetic figure in all of this. This is my face-saving mechanism is, wait a minute, I just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. What are you doing coming to me and talking about a restructuring of my contract? Now, to Russ's end of this entire thing, because I don't think this is just to take a side and yell about it on sports radio kind of thing, because I think a lot of people are very wrong in this, and to use a Sean Payton expression, have their hands dirty in all of this. Mm-hmm. Russ should not be given a penny back to the Broncos.
No, I agree with that statement.
He should not be in the slightest bit. And for the Broncos, ask away all you want.
Right, but that's the
but
thing.
No, you're going to get told to cram it.
What bewilders me is, what the hell did the Broncos think was going to happen? When they did they think that because of Russ and the way he is, where he's like, I love that, it feels like when he talks, he's like, I'll do anything for this team. I'll do anything for the people in this locker room. Mm-hmm. I love this city. I love, let's ride, baby, let's ride. And they were like, you know what? Russ does whatever we ask him to do. Let's go ask him to give back some of that money. And then they're sort of like, hey, Russell, that injury guarantee, we got to get rid of it, man, mm-hmm. or you're not going to play. And mm-hmm. he was like, not just no, but hell no. Mm-hmm. And then it feels like that shocked them or something. How'd they think they were going to play out?
It's almost as though there is an underside to the business of football that everybody is keenly aware of mm-hmm. in this entire damn ordeal. In fact, I want to spend more time talking about that when we come back. And we do have to hear from Ryan Clark. Okay, we do have to hear from the talking heads on Get Up this morning, as, yes, Russell Wilson has become the national media darling just as soon as he's no longer the Broncos quarterback. Funny how that works. Crackman and Lindahl, Bert's in for Andy. Keep it here. Talk to Jeff Legwold at 20 minutes after 4 o'clock here on a Ska Friday. We have got updated Broncos injury report ahead of this game against the Chargers. Courtland Sutton, out, concussion. Baron Browning, out, concussion. Greg Dulcich, out, hamstring and foot. And tackle Alex Palczewski is also listed as out. We have a fresh illness for Jerry Jeudy. He did not practice today. He is listed as questionable. Marvin Mims did not practice today. He is questionable with a hamstring. Running back Dwayne Washington has an illness, and he is listed as questionable. So there you go. That's the Broncos injury situation. It's almost as though this team is going to be coasting into the end of the season on fumes. Yeah. Now that they're at this place at 7-8, where they've
What's your level of excitement
for this Charger game?
Of watching Jarrett Stidham and the crew.
Stiddy v. Easton Stick.
Yeah, where's your mind at when it comes to that?
It's let's put it this way, okay? If I didn't do this for a living, I might spend my Sunday afternoon watching a different game.
Yeah, listen, man, there's Bengals-Chiefs that go on right when the Broncos-Chargers kick off.
I'm interested in that game.
Steelers-Seahawks?
Yep, I'm interested in that game as well. Yeah, there's other things that I might do with my time, but you know what? I'm a dedicated and committed Denver sports radio host, Bert. I will watch it. I will document it, and yes, we'll be ready to go here.
This has been the worst 5 years of your time in sports radio when it comes to talking football in this city? Or are you one of those sports talk show hosts that like the fact that there's been so much going on with the Broncos that gives you something to talk about every day instead of, just talking about they're great. Look at these Broncos. They can't be stopped. Although even in the year they won the Super Bowl, people were like, sit Peyton down. This offense sucks. All that kind of stuff.
I've said this many a time. Nobody enjoyed the year they won the Super Bowl. Okay?
No, that was miserable.
Any Bronco fan that tells you they enjoyed that season is lying to your face. Yeah. Okay? I hosted a show that whole year. People complained about that team constantly. 2013 was the most fun that any Broncos fan has ever had, and I loved that year as well. Okay, because we used to come in, we used to sit there and debate like what was Peyton's best throw.
Yeah,
like stuff like that. Like it's kind of like talking about Nikola Jokic. Like what was the best of his 11 made field goals?
Right. You can start talking about the greatest offenses in NFL history. Like, can you match up with the 92 Cowboy or whoever it is? Like, yeah. And these conversations lately for the past couple of years have been like, the Broncos are actually, you know what it feels like I've been doing for 5 years is just like trying to find somebody to blame. And like
it's 8 years now, by the way, Bert. It's 8 years. 5. You keep seeing 5.
Right, my bad.
What 5 are you talking about,
my
man?
My bad, man. My bad.
Yeah.
But right? It always feels like I come in and I was like, well, the Broncos sucked again. Who do we blame for this? Who do I blame for this? And it always feels like I'm pointing at somebody, ownership or the Trinity before, the Penner group got all that. Is it the coach? Is it the quarterback? Is it and it's just, it gets to the point where it's just weighing on you. Like, it's no fun. When's the last time the Broncos played fun football?
First half of 2014. The defense in 2015 was fun as hell. That group was incredible. But that was pretty much it. I mean, we've had mirages. Teddy Bridgewater was 7-6 for a minute. VJ got the team to 6-6 1 year. Was that the Case Keenum year? I think it was. Yeah.
Was that Case?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They got to 6-6, and then they got their butts handed to them by the 49ers. They were 7-6 at one point this year. They went from 1-5 to 6-5, and that was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed the 5-game win streak that this team went on this year. Again, you couldn't look at it though and say, okay, well, this is a Broncos team that this season has one loss when they win the turnover battle, and they're winless when they lose the turnover margin. Like it's directly right there in front of you, the margins that this team is living on. Sean Payton essentially turtled up the offense and said, we're not going to make mistakes. We're not going to turn the ball over. We're going to rely on our defense and our run game, and we'll play field position football and clock football, and we'll win low-scoring football games. And damn it if it didn't work. For a 5-game stretch.
And it made Sean Payton miserable while it was happening, right?
They beat the Chargers. They're 7-6. Like look at where this thing is all headed, which is fine, but also like you've got to be able to look at a situation and say, okay, like what is the potential for how high up this thing can go?
Right. What the Broncos were doing wasn't sustainable.
Very much so. We know that, okay? And we've seen the way that, again, turnovers have turned on them in recent weeks, and suddenly they're not winning football games anymore.
Yeah.
And they can lose to a team and an offense as craptacular as that of the New England Patriots, which is exactly what happened on Christmas Eve night. And that's how we got to this place. But there's another element in all of this, Bert, that, again, I think has sort of gotten missed on a day like this. So earlier today, Ryan Clark is on Get Up, and this clip has very much made the rounds.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryan Clark is making a passionate defense of Russell Wilson. And boy, you know, this sounds good on a national talking head show. And yes, this makes Russ sound like a sympathetic figure. This also is missing numerous points, which I will point out when Ryan Clark is done.
Doesn't make it okay. Hey, like from a business standpoint, I agree with you. You know, Mike T, like they're making the decision based on money and the financials. And when Daniel says this is the deal that we signed or we offered Russell Wilson, it's not the deal that we or us did because Sean Payton wasn't there.
True.
Right?
True.
And so the business of it is not a problem to me. But let's be honest, Sean Payton has behaved as a thug since he became the coach of the Denver Broncos. Immediately when he gets in the building, he starts to undercut Russell Wilson personally and professionally from his first press conference on. He tells Russell Wilson, you have to stop kissing babies, stop behaving as if you're running for office. Nobody kissed more babies in New Orleans than Drew Brees. Period, point blank. From the beginning, he walked into this building and he had a point to prove when it came to Russell Wilson. You're going to be just like everybody else. I'm going to treat you just like I treat everyone else on the team. That's not the way it works with franchise quarterbacks. Right? With a franchise quarterback, he's talked to differently. There are conversations instead of being talked at. You don't berate them on the sideline against the Detroit Lions because you don't agree with their play. We watched Sean Payton in New Orleans for a decade and a half, never treat his quarterback this way. And so now as you move through and you hear about the phone call, you hear about talking to his representatives about restructuring or doing whatever they wanted him to do to the contract, this was just a means to an end for Sean Payton. This was going to happen at some point. It just happened toward the end of the, I don't believe there was a thing Russell Wilson could do to make Sean Payton like him. I think from a personality standpoint, it was a bad match. I think schematically, it was a bad match. But my point is this. My point is this. Let's hold Sean Payton to some sort of professional accountability. His behavior as the head coach of the Denver Broncos is unacceptable. If I'm the Walton family, I do not want somebody representing me this way. And I want to say this about Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson takes a hell of a lot of heat. The humility that Russell Wilson has shown, the professionalism that Russell Wilson has shown inside of that building while being treated that way by that man. All I got to say to Sean Payton is you lucky you had the right one.
Ah, yes, the humility of a man with his own office on the second floor, that the new coach walked in the door and said, hey, when you had that, you were the 28th rated passer in the NFL and you won 4 games your first year on the job. I don't think you should do that anymore. I don't think you should act like you're running for office, that you should be kissing babies, maybe lose the slogan, all of those things that Sean Payton insisted upon Russell Wilson.
Is that thug-like behavior?
No,
like Ryan Clark said.
Look, is Sean Payton a prickly jerk? Yes. There's no doubt about that. You know that when you hire Sean Payton, okay? But for Sean Payton to say the way that everybody operated around here last year, okay, with your quarterback coach in the building and running meetings, with your office upstairs with your teammates saying, wow, it's kind of nice to have him around the locker room this year, like For Sean Payton to have recognized, okay, this is the way you approach things in year number 1 with this guy, it was an absolute disaster. And so we're going to do things differently. I don't get how that's harsh on him. You know, for the the idea that Russell Wilson has had nothing but humility is absolutely laughable to me. Okay, that dude had his entourage in the building everywhere last year. Sean Payton looked at it for 1 second and said, "That's a load of BS. Get that right out of here. Stop kissing babies. Nobody kissed more babies than Drew Brees." It's Drew Brees. It's a 5-time All-Pro.
Yeah, it's all
okay? He's a top 10 quarterback that ever lived. And Sean Payton's offense was executed exactly the way that he wanted it run. So that absolutely is why Sean Payton treated Drew Brees that way. Also, and whether it's fair or not, Drew Brees was Sean Payton's hand-picked quarterback. Sean Payton, the moment that he got the job in New Orleans, called up Drew Brees, who was pretty sure that he was going to be a Miami Dolphin after the Chargers kicked him out the door, and Sean Payton talked him into a vision where which Brees would walk in and be his quarterback. And, hey, look at that. Both Sean Payton and Drew Brees will probably go to the Hall of Fame one day. Drew Brees definitely will because of what they did together. So, the whole it's not the way that it works with franchise quarterbacks, the point that Ryan Clark makes. 28th rated passer in the NFL a year ago. Okay? It did have to work differently with that guy. Was it ever a good fit personality-wise or schematically? No. It never was because you looked at it every single year. Drew Brees worked the middle of the field, got the ball out immediately, went through his progressions. Look at any of Russ's numbers, okay? He gets sacked a ton. He holds onto the ball forever. He is not a quick processor. He loves to tuck and run instead of taking the completions that are available there to him. He's the anti-Drew Brees in so many different ways. Everybody could see it before this thing even started.
But you can see why Ryan Clark is saying what he's saying, right? Listen, man, we're all not as smart as Nate Kreckman. We most of us are not as smart as Nate Kreckman.
Save that drop. Save that drop, Spring.
We come from this angle of a much more emotional angle on things when it comes to this football, and it's because it's what the NFL has been selling us. It's what the Denver Broncos sells us. They talk about loyalty to the team. They talk about history and culture, and that's what the NFL does.
And it's all BS.
And it's all garbage. And I eat it up every single time. I eat it up. And I buy into it every single time, and it always comes back to bite me because it's not true. Because you know what? Everybody nationally hammering the Broncos and hammering Sean Payton in particular for the way he handled this they seem to be saying that this isn't fair. This isn't fair. You're not treating Russ fairly. You're not treating why would people come and play for the Denver Broncos if you're not going to treat your players fairly? And that's just from the outside looking in.
Russ got his $160 million guaranteed.
He's getting paid, but players, coaches, people in the league understand that this is what happens.
Yes.
This is the business of football.
Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers and Zach Allen, a bunch of dudes that got paid by Sean Payton. You know what they're doing? They're looking at this whole thing and going, well, I hope he doesn't take my money.
Right? Yes. Yes.
That's the way this works.
Right? Famously, Jimmy Johnson once said when he was talking about some of his team with the Cowboys, he said, I don't treat every player the same. I try to treat everyone fairly. But when you look at what's happening with the Broncos, would you say, you know what, this is all fair game? Them going to Russ saying, listen, we're going to sit you down because we can't afford to play you if you get hurt. We are not paying that money in 2025.
Because we don't want you anymore.
But you understand from the fan base looks at it and says, if this is your best quarterback and the only reason you don't want to play him is because you don't want to pay him, then I'm angry because you keep telling me that this is always about winning. It's not about the money. It's not about anything else. It's just about wins. And if you're not about winning, then how can I be a fan of your team?
There's a good question here from the 347 on the text line. Who is Jarrett Stidham supposed to throw to?
Yeah, that's true.
We'll ask Jeff Legwold that very question when we come back. Courtland Sutton is out, and there's injury designations all over the receiver corps. We talk to Leggy next. Yes, it is Jeff Legwold time on a Ska Friday. Jeff Legwold, as always, is brought to you by BetSafe Colorado, the exclusive club for passionate gamers and bettors across the state. He joins us on the Ramos Law Hotline. Jeff Legwold, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
We're doing okay. Leggy, a bit of an eventful week around these parts. So Russell Wilson spoke to the media today. He indeed confirmed that the organization came to him about a contract reworking after the Kansas City game during the bye week. What do we know about what the mechanics of those conversations looked like and how it all played out?
Well, Russell was very public and very clear that after the win over Kansas City, they came to him and said, in his words, do something with the salary guarantee that is tied to a physical next March, or, in his words, we're benching you for the rest of the year. So in talking to a lot of folks involved in this, I think there's some indication the Broncos, instead of having this guarantee kick in if he could not pass a physical, basically if he had an injury on the 5th day of the league year in March, that they wanted to adjust that timetable out or do some other tweaking of the guarantee. So, either have it engaged much later or something on that order. And I think Wilson and his representatives, basically said no to that. And then they let him play. At the time, he said they said he would be benched from that point on, and that he did not know during the bye week if he would actually play in Buffalo. So all of that transpired. He said he contacted the NFL and the NFLPA and continued to play, and now they have benched him publicly for football reasons.
Sure.
So everyone's going to have to do their own math here, but he's adamant the benching occurred because he would not adjust his contract. And, I will just tell you, having talked to guys in the locker room, the feeling basically is, Sean Payton isn't going to give back any money if they don't make the playoffs, and Greg Penner isn't cutting season ticket prices if they don't make the playoffs. So I think players feel like Russ was in his, had every right to say no to this.
Yeah, players know they got to get theirs, and it's that while this game breaks your body, get yourself paid as much as humanly possible. Which again, that players get that part of the business. Jeff, some of my confusion here is the involvement of the NFL and the NFLPA. To your understanding, is this any sort of violation of the collective bargaining agreement to tie a reworking of a contract or a pay cut to playing time as an incentive? Like what exactly happened there, and what was legit and what wasn't?
Well, no, there's grounds for a grievance, but it's Russell Wilson's word against everybody else's, and the Broncos' only public comments to this, there's been nothing from Greg Penner, and there's been nothing from George Paton. And Sean Payton said after practice today he was not, quote, privy to any of these discussions. Whether you can believe a guy as involved as Sean Payton really didn't know they were talking about his starting quarterback is up to you. But basically, publicly, the Broncos have said this is a football decision, and Russell Wilson would need some kind of proof that it's not to have a grievance. But yeah, you can't threaten players to give back money and affect their playing time if they don't. That's grounds for a grievance. There likely won't be one because, again, you need, it's not like a medical grievance where you could get a doctor to examine you and give your side of it. There's really no, unless everybody was taping everybody in these discussions, there's really no way to prove what was said or what wasn't said.
How common is this with other teams? Do a lot of teams go to these players and ask them to restructure deals? Because we hear about it sometimes, but it feels like in this particular case, it's rather larger than life, maybe because it's Russell Wilson and the amount of money that it involves. But, like, how common of a practice is this between teams and players?
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time when teams are trying to get under the salary cap. But what's rare about this is it's the starting quarterback. He just broke a 16-game losing streak against your division rival, or he helped you do that the day before, and you came to a discussion party with a sledgehammer. I think that's what's
We're talking to Jeff Legwold here. We hope Leggy is still with us here on a Friday afternoon. Jeff Legwold joining us on the Ramos Law Hotline. Car accident, you need Ramos Law, medical doctor and attorney, ramoslaw.com. Okay, Jeff, so what do we understand to be the biggest critiques that Sean Payton had of Russell Wilson as his quarterback?
I'm certain, there's a lot in the football weeds about progressions and processing and movement of the ball. I mean, Drew Brees at his best in a Sean Payton offense was moving the ball quickly out of his hand. There wasn't too many plays where you're talking about Drew Brees and the proverbial second play, after the first thing breaks down. That just wasn't part of his game, really. So I think probably it's mostly that, but I would, I think I've had other personnel directors and GMs in the league tell me, Russell has flashed this year when there's been sort of a little bit of compromise on both sides, call plays that fit him better. I mean, he is tied for sixth in the league in touchdowns. So there is something happening at some point that works. I just don't think the offense looks and feels the way Sean Payton wants it to, and he neither has the patience nor the wherewithal to deal with that. And it's to a degree where he's willing to, again, bench the starting quarterback who has more touchdown passes than 24 other starting quarterbacks. So, I mean, it's just it's really an odd situation in a lot of ways that will have severe and significant ramifications if it's not Russell Wilson behind center next year, and I'm not sure many people think that's going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't seem all that terribly likely right now. Leggy, to get to this place where the Broncos are seemingly gearing themselves up for an $80+ million dead cap hit, where the Broncos are seemingly gearing themselves up for jettisoning a quarterback before his contract extension even kicks in. A decision that was made by this ownership group and this general manager, not this head coach, but the ownership group and the general manager. How did the Broncos arrive at this place? Like, what do we know about the internal conversations organizationally? Because when it comes to the quarterback, everybody has to be involved with a discussion like that could help the Broncos get to a place where this is now the action being taken.
Yeah, I mean, it's until we hear from Penner, and, in theory, after the season's over, we might at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really hard for me to believe, Sean Payton was doing the whole, I didn't know anything about this. Come on. The guy designed the sweatsuits the team wears on the road, for crying out loud. And I'm supposed to believe he doesn't know about discussions to bench his starting quarterback if some kind of financial deal isn't worked out. So, I mean, they obviously have Greg Penner involved, because you cannot swing a hammer this big at a player and not have the owner involved. So, where he stands on those conversations, or if he's doing the I'm letting the football people handle the football stuff, we don't know that. If he pushed for this, But again, I just, in the big picture, it's really difficult to understand why the richest ownership group in the NFL, in fact, richer than the next 5 ownership groups combined on the list. Again, $37 million is a hell of a lot of money for me, you, and everybody else. But in their corporate world, it's hotel points. And I just don't know that this just seems like a pretty big hammer to swing to put your franchise in a position that it's going to be in after you've done it.
Yeah, Nate needs a roadmap. How do you even navigate the kind of cap hit the Broncos are going to have to deal with over the next 2? How do you even deal with that kind of money issues you're going to have over the next couple of seasons?
Certainly it's doable, but now suddenly you're limited. It will be the biggest cap hit of dead money any team's ever. It'll be unprecedented. In fact, it'll almost be double of what anybody's taken on.
Matt Ryan was the previous biggest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are the Falcons in great shape? And you're talking about a team in the Broncos that was the 24th, in age when the season started. So it's an older team. And, they only have 6 draft picks. And, they don't have a 2. And they only have 2 picks on the first 2 days of the draft, where most of the talent is. They are not positioned. I'll just give you the example. The Green Bay Packers deal with Rodgers. They trade Rodgers. What they take, a $47 million dead hit this year?
Mm-hmm.
But, they're the youngest team in the NFL when the season started, and they had 12 draft picks last April. That's how you deal with a big cap hit. And the Broncos are not in position to deal with it that way. And then, I will continue to ask this question to everyone. What are the real chances of the player behind center for the season opener next year is better than Russell Wilson? I'd say it's pretty small.
Talking to Jeff Legwold here on a Friday afternoon. All right, Leggy, so Courtland Sutton is out with a concussion on Sunday against the Chargers. Marvin Mims pops today. He is now questionable with a hamstring. Jerry Jeudy has an illness. He is questionable. I don't think Tim Patrick is coming back here this week. Who is Jarrett Stidham going to throw the ball to?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of New Orleans Saints playbook Sunday because they have it was like the ex-Saints show at practice today, with Traquan Smith, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Adam Troutman. A lot of the first teamers looked a lot like, situational work in New Orleans. So Sean Payton has, in some ways, rolled out a little bit of a red carpet for Stidham because the Chargers are horrific in pass defense. I just started their last 3 games, and there are some snaps where I'm not even really sure what they were trying to do. So, I think they're 30th in pass defense. I think they're 30th in passing yards allowed per play. I think they're 26th in scoring defense. I think they're 27th in overall defense. So Russell got Belichick and, like the number 7 defense, and Stidham will get his crack at a really struggling pass defense. So I would expect the ball to be in the air plenty because I think Sean Payton wants to prove a point.
Broncos are out to hit him with Stidham this week. Leggy, what should we expect out of Jarrett Stidham, the quarterback?
Well, if he stays in rhythm, Nate, again, like we were just saying, I think you should have a pretty good day. It's a target-rich environment. Let's just say that. I mean, there should be plenty of completions out there if he just moves the ball. If he holds the ball, and he did that at times in college when I looked at him before the draft, and has done that at times in games, he's going to take some hits because the Chargers can rush the passer. But the only thing they do okay on defense right now is when they want to, they can still get after it. So he's got to get the ball out of his hands, and if he does, the numbers should look pretty good. And it's just a matter of can they close the deal in the red zone without Russell and Courtland because they've been the only 2 guys to close the deal in the red zone this year.
Leggy, last thing, and this is where I need you to throw a Hail Mary like Russell Wilson with 1 second left against the Patriots right here. There will be presumably a quarterback competition to see who the Broncos starting quarterback is in 2024 in training camp. Who might the names be involved in this championship bout?
I don't think we know. I mean, Stidham will be one of them. I think that's the whole point of this exercise, and it's why they signed him to 2 years. And I will tell you, I know many people in the league. Now, Sean Payton's never admitted it publicly, and Jarrett Stidham has never admitted publicly, but he had other options, and he signed here, and people in the league believe Sean Payton sort of said you may have a chance to compete, at some point in the second year. I don't know that to be true, but I just know that there are folks in the league who say that. So I think Stidham certainly is involved. List of free agent quarterbacks isn't great because it never is. We're talking guys like Mayfield and, that caliber of guy.
I don't even know how would they pay for a Baker Mayfield right now?
You can't. Well, I mean, that's like they're so limited in what they're going to be. That's why I asked you the question. I know a lot of people in this town are firing the confetti cannons because they're going to get rid of Russ. But you tell me objectively, looking at a 2-quarterback draft and no picks to get up anyway, even if you wanted one, how the Broncos are going to have a better player at quarterback to open the season next year than a 26-touchdown Russell Wilson right now.
Jarrett Stidham versus Jameis Winston. That's my call right now, Leggy.
That's what I mean. It's the free agent quarterbacks aren't great. I mean, Winston's in there, Minshew's in there, Mayfield's in there. But haven't we seen that movie over the last 7 years?
We're going to – Leggy, the radio stations are going to print up some killer T-shirts. I'll get you one, okay?
No, I'm just saying. I mean, we've done hey, let's sign the middle-tier free agent guy and hope it works out great, and they simply don't have the draft horsepower to move around to get one, even if they liked one. They're going to have to get lucky if the draft's going to be a route and get the guy in the third who magically becomes, the guy. And, yeah, it happens all the time, but that's really not a franchise plan. That's great. And you're going to hear a lot of talk about how the cap doesn't matter and all of that stuff, that you can always work it. Even the most ardent capologists in the league will tell you dead money is forever. You don't get to mess with it. It's there. You have to deal with it. You can't fix it. You can't smudge it. You can't round off the edges. It's there. And that'll be $85 million worth of players the Broncos cannot sign. And, my guess is in 2 years, they look a lot like the Rams with the back end of the roster, very young with 6th, 7th rounders undrafted, and you're going to have a head coach that does not have a history of playing those type of players.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, Leggy, they'll be lucky if they end up looking like the Rams in a couple of years. Jeff Legwold of ESPN.com. Leggy, good stuff as always, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, fellas. Happy Friday.
All right, busy week there for Jeff Legwold. Jeff Legwold on the Ramos Law Hotline. Car accident, you need Ramos Law. Medical doctor and attorney, RamosLaw.com. Jeff Legwold's appearance on 92.5 is brought to you by BetSafe Colorado, the exclusive club for passionate gamers and bettors across the state. Nikola Jokic did something last night that very few players in the history of the NBA have ever done, even though it's something that he does all the time. I'll tell you what we're talking about next.
Coach, I asked because you lived in the media for a year. When this decision was made with Russell, obviously it's a big deal. You get personally criticized. How do you deal with that? Is that part of?
I think it's part of the deal, and I understand it. And look, yeah, I mean, I get it, but it's the only thing that makes me once in a while want to do Hard Knocks, because there's a perception, and then that would be the only reason to get an insight as to, this whole old school approach. Shoot, you don't do this long if you're not adjusting, funny, creative, all of those things. And I think I am all of those things. No, that's what he's doing. I told you that, and I'm in charge of it. He's going to be the number 2. Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah, I got it. Fair question. All right. Anything else?
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for wishing me happy birthday.
Welcome to the 60 Club.
Sean Payton is just one of those funny, creative guys.
You don't get to call yourself funny. You can't do that, brother. You get all that. You can't call yourself funny. I'll be the judge of that. No.
I can't. I legitimately, other than like when we play some like Sean Payton cuts out of context.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single thing that he said this year that made me laugh.
Right. You can't call yourself funny, man. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't just be like, you know what? I'm hilarious.
I'm a real cut up. Okay.
And gosh darn it, people like me.
I know, right?
No.
He went Stuart Smalley at the end.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, man. No.
Mm-hmm. We did get another number 2 drop though to live on in perpetuity there, Spring.
It's a number 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's going to be the number 2.
He's going to be the number 2.
Do you think Sean Payton expected this guy? I mean, because he's the media attention here in Denver. I don't know if he realized what it was going to be like when he took the job. That that he is under a microscope.
I don't think he got it. I don't think Russ got it either.
Yeah.
When Russ arrived here, I don't think he got.
Yeah. He thought it was going to be more like Seattle.
Like to be a quarterback in this town.
Yeah.
I don't think that he had a full sense of it, and he didn't read the room for an entire year. It was look at how loaded rich I am. Okay, look at how cool I am. Look at how flashy I dress. Yeah, dude, you went 4-11 as the starter.
Right, that's another thing you can't be like, look how cool I am and look how fun I am. Those are the 2 things you can't do, and you can't give yourself your own nickname.
No.
Those are the 3 things you can't do. The 3 things you can't do. Look at how cool I am.
Yeah.
Look how funny I am.
Now,
check out my nickname.
If Sean wanted to make me laugh, he could have said he's going to be the number 2 because he played like number 2. Now, had he said that,
yes, that would have
I would have been like, it's a good line. He needs better writers, okay?
Oh, man.
Maybe I can get a gig. Maybe I can get a gig on Sean's writing staff next year. I'll see if I can punch up some of his material for him.
Do you
a
think
bit.
some of the criticism about Sean Payton is that he has a tendency to throw people under the bus instead of taking responsibility himself? Mm-hmm. I don't know if yes, he has thrown some people under the bus, but do you think he's not taking responsibility for the things that have happened with the Broncos this year?
Okay, so here's an exact way to answer that question. I will let Sean answer that question himself because he used a word today to describe what happened in the conversations between the team and Russ and his representatives. And this is what Russ said when he talked to the media today. We played that audio earlier, that he was approached, that he was asked to take a pay cut to waive his injury guarantee for 2025. Otherwise, he would be benched. Russ called it a low blow, and it was asked of Sean Payton today, and this is how Sean Payton characterized those discussions.
Now, listen, and I understand the question, and it's fair, and I totally get it. I'm not privy to any of those. That's not. I'm handling the football, and I know this. The number one reason for taking this job for me was ownership and winning. Certainly, the tradition here mattered relative to being at a place where it's important. But that's something George in the front office. I'm not involved in any of that. I mean,
I'm not involved in any of that. I was not privy to those discussions.
Liar, right? I'm assuming he's lying.
On what planet would the front office make that call, including a threat of benching that does not involve a conversation with Sean Payton, a guy who he said himself, I'm handling the football. Well, that includes who his starter is on a given week.
He had to be in that meeting. He had to be looped in on that.
That is a raging pile
Heck,
of BS.
man, I think he was probably running that meeting.
Without a doubt. Okay, that is flat out got to be a lie. I am not privy to any of those discussions. Come on, guy. Come on, man. There is no way you really think anybody is buying that.
Right.
Do
you think George Payton was telling Greg Penner, hey, listen, man, we're going to sit Russ down. I'm going to go tell Sean right now that we're telling his starting quarterback to sit down.
Okay. So of the triumvirate that runs the Broncos, Greg Penner, Sean Payton, George Payton, one of those three entities was present when the trade for Russell Wilson was executed. That was George Payton.
Mm-hmm.
Two of those three entities were inside the building and running the show when Russell Wilson was handed a 5-year contract extension with $160+ million in guarantees, okay? So Sean Payton wants us to think that even with his visibly rocky relationship with Russell Wilson, that the decision and the discussions that took place were solely those of the individuals that both principally wanted him here and paid him massive sums of money to stay here for a long time, and that he was not privy to what was going on.
Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. And actually, if it's true, then the system's even more broken than I thought.
Seriously,
right?
If that is true, then I hope that Sean Payton was throwing things around an office.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that happened. Because I don't think that that's actually what went down at all. I do not buy that for 1 second. And if Sean Payton wanted Russell Wilson out as his quarterback, which he very clearly did, he is going to be a part of these discussions the whole damn time. We just know that. Okay, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Get the 5 biggest stories of the day from around the NFL. Much happening in the NFL world. Plus, we have not yet discussed Nikola Jokic's triple-double from last night, and that's not sitting okay with me. We're with you until 6:30. It's Kreckman and Lindahl. Bert's in for Andy. Yes, we play ska music on Fridays. Bert's in for Andy. I am Nate Kreckman, Mark Springer producing the program. As Russell Wilson has spoken today, Sean Payton has spoken today. We have a lot to react to. Avalanche getting ready to take on the Blues in St. Louis. The Nuggets on the second night of a back-to-back will face the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. I think this is one of those games, by the way, where Michael Malone has told the fellas, get up for this one, guys. Yeah. These dudes have gotten us. Let's not do it again.
They'd be on a 10-game winning streak if SGA hadn't knocked that shot down on them.
Ooh, that's a good factoid right there. Berto's got a lot of pregame duties coming up. We just have a lot going on right now. So let's dive right into the football news of the day, which starts with Russell Wilson confirming rumors in the Broncos locker room. Spring.
Time for the final high five of 2023. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment. It is never ordinary at Bet365. And yes, Russell Wilson talking in front of his locker this afternoon. And here he is giving his side of what happened after the 24-9 win over the Chiefs and the Broncos going into that bye week.
Yeah, we beat the Chiefs. They came up to me during the bye week and beginning of the bye week on Monday or Tuesday, and they told me that if I didn't change my contract, my injury guarantee, that I'd be, I'd be benched for the rest of the year. And I think we had 9 games left or so. I was definitely disappointed about it, and it was a process throughout the whole week, for a whole bye week, and we just came off beating the Chiefs, played a pretty good game against the Chiefs. We just came off of that, so I was excited, obviously, for us fighting for the playoffs and get on a hot streak. And, and then NFLPA and NFL got involved or whatever, I think, but at some point. But I think, for me, I came here to play here, to win. I knew it was going to be a process I signed a 7-year deal to, for us to go and play hard, and that's my goal every time I step into the white lines, is give everything I have. I want to be here, I want to play here, I want to be able to win here, I want to win championships here, I want to give my all every week, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what the score is, and I want to be the best teammate and leader that I can be in the midst of it all, and so that's why I was out here at practice every day, and I told Jared I'll help him and lead him and do whatever it takes and keep the guys going and try to lead the right way. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. I think winning is a habit, mentality-wise, focus-wise, and the approach. No matter if you're the 1, if you're the 2, no matter what, should never change. And I love this game. I love this team, and I love the teammates that I got to. And I just, it's a disappointing thing for sure. It's definitely been tough on me for the past several weeks, knowing it and all that. But at the same time, I love this game and what God's granted me with.
11-19 as the starter for this organization, so winning wasn't nearly enough of a habit during Russell Wilson's time right here. Man, how about Russ? Flat out just saying this organization executed something that may be a violation of the collective bargaining agreement, and I may be filing a grievance at the end of the season. The involvement of the Players Association and the league in the conversation. Russ putting all of those cards out on the table. As I listened to it, and we've listened to those comments a couple of times now here, Bert, what struck me was, should something happen to Jarrett Stidham on Sunday?
Yes, this is fascinating.
There's no planet they're putting Russ in the game.
Preach on it. They're gonna there's no way.
It's Ben DiNucci's team if something happens to Jarrett Stidham.
Russell Wilson is not number 2.
After Russell Wilson stood in the locker room and aired the dirty laundry of the pay cut negotiation, which I don't have a problem with him doing that, but that sets ablaze any bridge that could have still existed between the player and the organization.
Yeah, which is still fascinating to me because I think this was always the end. This was always what was going to happen, but the Broncos just assumed that Russ was going to eat that money.
That he was going to go with it?
Yeah, like that. That's
an
fascinating.
opportunity to win right now is enough, and I love this team and I love this organization enough. No. Like Russell Wilson is no idiot, okay? Here's the other thing about Russ, okay? He also knows what he is. Russell Wilson is very aware that what 35-year-old Russell Wilson is capable of doing out on a field. He can say all of those things. He knows there's not a lot of winning and or playing, quite frankly, in his future as an NFL quarterback. He is aware that he is a player that is in decline and knows that he won the damn lottery when the Penners gave him the extension that he got. He's not about to give a penny of that back for the sake of being a good guy, because this is the last payday that he ever gets.
Mm-hmm. And let's be clear, you're perfectly fine with them telling Russ to sit down.
Yes.
And let's go with Jarrett Stidham. It's not like you're upset because of the way they handled it. I mean, because
Russ is a perfectly cromulent, mediocre NFL quarterback,
and the text
there's
line,
no more winning to do with him.
The text line right now, there's a lot of people who are kind of excited that this is what's happening right now, that Russell Wilson is not going to be the quarterback for the Denver Broncos moving ahead.
Yeah, I think people should be excited about that, because Russ can say all he wants, I want to win championships here. Well, you weren't ever going to. No. Okay? They're just... You flat out were not. You might have been able to sneak into the playoffs a couple of times, but as I have been arguing throughout the course of the show, it's a minor miracle that this team is 7-8 with the talent that they have. I have to give Sean Payton a ton of credit for the way that he coached this team and for what he was able to maximize out of a declining player in Russell Wilson.
High five.
The Broncos still have a game to play on Sunday. It's a must-win game.
Yes, it's still a must-win, Springer.
Right?
Don't pretend that it can't happen, because it can.
Doesn't that sound so weird to say?
It does. They could still win the whole division, my man.
It feels like somebody on the text line joked before, like this is like a bowl game roster that the Broncos are going to be running out.
Yeah, transfer portal. Everybody's in the transfer portal.
Cortland Sutton's not playing. Baron Browning is not playing. Jerry Jeudy has an illness and is questionable. Mims has a hamstring, and he is questionable. Mimsy got to hang on to the football, dude. I really like that guy as a player, but dude's got to hang on to the football. The Broncos are 8-7 and right in the thick of it if Mimsy doesn't cough that thing up, but that's neither here nor there. It's just... Spring is right. You guys are right. This is a must-win. It feels nothing like that at all.
High five.
And another game the Broncos need on Sunday. A lot of question marks in my sentences here. The Broncos need the Bengals to go beat the Chiefs.
Yes.
For the Bengals, Jamar Chase is questionable with a shoulder injury. The Chiefs will be without Kadarius Toney, tackle Donovan Smith, running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, McCole Hardman, who you sometimes forget is back on the Chiefs. Their other running back, their best running back, Isaiah Pacheco, is out. Actually, he's questionable, as is L'Jarius Sneed.
So wait, they need the Bengals to win this game?
Yes, they do.
Isn't that also bad for them
Yes.
if an 8-7 team wins a game?
But they got to win the division. That's the
They
only way.
gotta
The path they got to win the
division.
division
Yeah,
to get
there's
in.
too much else they need
This
help
was,
from for the wild card.
There's no way that this helps. Any result that happens in this game, there's no way that helps the Broncos. Either way, it's tough to see that there is any kind of path to this team being able to make the playoffs. It does exist. You're right about that.
You know what happens is we're going to come to that last week. The Chiefs will have lost this game. Let's say they lose to Cincinnati, and then that last week, the Broncos, if they get the win against the Chargers, they have to beat the Raiders. The Chiefs have to lose. Who do the Chiefs have in that final game?
They're at the Chargers, which, keep in mind, Easton Stick came within 2 points of Josh Allen and the Bills.
Sure did.
So, hey.
Man, can you imagine the Broncos dropping that game with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback when they could have won it and won the whole division after this debacle that we had this week? That would be crazy. But that's the NFL, so it's absolutely going to happen.
Russ did just lose to the Patriots.
Yeah, that was a ugly game, man. The first half of that game, you wanted to take the Broncos out back and put them out of their misery because that was awful football. That turned the whole nation off. That was the one football game all week long where Bronco fans were angry. Patriots fans were angry because they lost their draft position. And the nation of football fans were angry because they had to watch it.
Now, that game ended up being super entertaining.
At the very end, yes, it did. That fourth quarter was wild.
But the Broncos' first 2 drives started at the New England 6 and the New England 46, and they scored 0 points. If anyone wants to know why Russell Wilson isn't playing this week, if you're actually looking for a football reason.
High five.
Well, Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns are absolutely unstoppable right now. In fact, I saw some odds. Your favorites for comeback player of the year, DeMar Hamlin minus 150. Flacco's now even money to win comeback player of the year.
Balling, dude. Dude's balling.
And the Browns, man, they're going all in on former Broncos quarterbacks. They have signed our boy,
Jake Driscoll?
Jeff Driscoll.
So Flacco threw 3 tutties.
Yeah, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, brother.
Last night. The highlight of that game for me was the Robert Saleh post-game press conference when he was asked why he wasn't madder. And what do you want me to do, throw the podium on the floor?
Browns have won 4 in a row, man. Cleveland's going crazy. I can't believe Joe Flacco, man. That dude annoys me, and he's out there just balling. Like, Joe Flacco in general annoys me, but man.
Joe Flacco has some pass protection. He has reignited the career of David Njoku out there, and he's got a great defense, and he leans on that. But I threw for 309. The arm is still there. That arm is still very much in its prime.
Man, where's it been the last 2-3 seasons, man? What's going on with that?
Yeah, it's the arm has always been there. The movement, not so much. That dude got destroyed when he was back there with the Broncos.
High five.
And finally, some AFC South stuff, because you got 3 teams at 8 and 7 there. The Jaguars, the Texans, and the Colts. For the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence is out for their game against the Carolina Panthers. It'll be C.J. Beathard starting. C.J. Stroud is back for the Texans. He'll go up against the Tennessee Titans in Houston. And the Colts are hosting the Raiders.
Yeah, there's some seriously rad quarterback play going on here, not the least of which the one that we'll be watching, the Jared Stidham and Easton Stick Bowl.
Yeah. Do you guys... Springer, you believed in the Jacksonville Jaguars, but now they've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah,
only because that division
no
is so.
longer believe.
Yeah, you no longer believe.
You shouldn't believe.
It's the Houston. You know what else I would like to point out?
There's still a playoff team as we sit here today.
I would like to point out that this is the 52nd Friday of the year. You chuckleheads have done 52 of these
Ska
Friday and NFL, top 5 at 5 segments. That's a whole lot of football.
We do the high five every single day. Now, it was briefly supplanted.
Oh, my goodness.
It was briefly supplanted for a couple of months stretch there. I say briefly, it really lasted. During the NBA playoffs, we did the NBA high five.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because I was like, man, 52 Ska Fridays, brother. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, round ball rock.
John Tesh.
Yeah. Have you heard John Tesh tell the story about how
replace it on the answering machine?
Yeah, he called his own answering machine because he's like, I got a tune that's a banger.
And then he does like an air dribbling move during it. He starts air dribbling before he sits down at the piano.
Is John Tesh still with us? Ooh. Is John Tesh still alive?
I'm going to say yes.
Because that dude was doing that dude was a Renaissance man.
Still with us.
Okay, sweet.
He was both a musical composer and he was hosting was it Entertainment Tonight?
Yes. He hosted TV shows.
I believe it was him and Lisa Gibbons together on Entertainment Tonight.
Was it? Yes.
Thank you. The deep poll, I know.
I was about to say, damn, man.
But he wrote the NBA on NBC theme, better known as Round Ball Rock. Yeah.
That's a banger.
John Tesh. 71 years of age, still with us.
All right. Way to go, John Tesh.
John Tesh. So we didn't kill him today here live on the air. Nikola Jokic, speaking of dudes that can ball.
Yeah.
That can round ball rock like you couldn't believe. Nikola Jokic with the triple-double last night. How rare was what he did? We'll talk about that next. Scott Friday, Kreckman, and Lindahl. Mark Bertinoli is in for Andy Lindahl. I am Nate Kreckman. We're rolling with you until 6:30. Birdo has got to go in the other room in 10 minutes. He's got an Avalanche pregame show as the Avs will take on the Blues tonight in St. Louis. Tough one the other night against the Yotes.
Yeah, that sucked. Giving up 5 unanswered and you were up 4-0. You blow that lead.
Not ideal. The Avalanche trying to bounce back this evening as they will take on the Blues in St. Louis. The Nuggets will be in action against Oklahoma City. Last night, the Nuggets scored 1 billion points.
Yeah. 142. The most they've scored all season long.
142-105. They get that victory over the Memphis Grizzlies, a Memphis team that was playing without Ja Morant. Do you think he still made it over to Glendale last night?
Yeah, we were talking about that. That was a topic of conversation because the Grizzlies were actually in town the day before as well.
Right.
They had the day off, so they could have done whatever they wanted. But the local Memphis guys said that there's some kind of, like, the entire team has the flu or cold. There's some kind of bug going through the locker room, so everybody was just, like, crashed out at the hotel, supposedly.
Ja Morant DNP illness last night. Yeah, they just got absolutely worked in that game. For the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic did that thing last night. 11 of 11 from the field, Bert. 26 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists.
Perfecto.
He exited the game, I believe, with 1:28 left in the third quarter. Didn't see the floor again in putting up that kind of performance. So I got a little bit of a history here for you. First off, let's go with the obvious. The triple-double while shooting 100% from the field, which Nikola Jokic did last night. It has been done 14 times now in NBA history. Nikola Jokic tying the great Wilt Chamberlain with his third triple-double with 100% perfect field goal shooting, going 11 of 11 last night en route to his triple-double. Wilt, by the way, technically still has the record. February 24th of 1967, Wilt was 18 of 18 from the field in a 42-point, 30-rebound, 10-assist triple-double.
That's nasty.
I know, right?
Wilt.
Jokic has now done it 3 times. Of his 3 perfect shooting night triple-doubles, 2 of them he was 11 of 11, including last night. The other one, it was a game against the Lakers from last season, if you recall, in which he was 5 for 5.
Ooh, no, I don't remember
from
that game.
The field in a 14-point, 11-rebound, 16-assist triple-double in a Nuggets 122-109 victory over the Lakers at Ball Arena.
I liked, after the game, Peyton Watson said, listen, I've been playing basketball since I was a kid. I've never seen a triple-double until I started playing for the Nuggets, and now I see them all the time.
It's
so wild.
So the other one that I was curious about was a triple-double scoring at least 25 points in 31 minutes or fewer. That has been done 27 times.
Really?
In NBA history, Bert. Nikola Jokic is your all-time leader in this particular statistical anomaly. Last night was his 6th such triple-double in his career. Again, scoring 25 or more in a triple-double, playing 31 minutes or fewer.
I believe our stats guy at Ball Arena, Dan Collins, once told us, it was just that it might have been on Christmas, that Nikola Jokic has more triple-doubles through 3 quarters than Joel Embiid has triple-doubles in his career.
That would sound right to me.
Because Joker just ends up with one of those games where you're like, man, he played 24 minutes and he's sitting on 12, 10, and 10 or something ridiculous like that.
In fact, that was the second of Nikola's such performances in a 2-week span. He also did it against Brooklyn. Yeah, he played 30 minutes that night, went for 26, 14, and 10, the exact same stat line that he put up last night.
So far and away the greatest player the Nuggets have ever seen.
Yep.
Ever to wear a Nuggets uniform.
Yep.
And he just keeps doing it. He just keeps doing it.
Tonight they get the Oklahoma City Thunder, and, you know, regular season basketball, Bert, there's 82 of them. And there's only so much emotional capital for 1 through 82, right? Most of it gets saved for the playoffs, especially when you're a championship team.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Green kind of talked about this a little bit one time last year where it was like, I know when it's one of those nights. When the dudes are lacing up the shoes, it's just a little different. And, Jeff Green's 1,000 years old.
Right.
So he's only got
been in the league
so
forever.
many of those bullets in the chamber, so to speak, to begin with, of like, I can really lay it out there. I believe this is one of those nights where Michael Malone, taking on this Thunder team, is going to look at his dudes and say, I want this one.
Yeah, they are the Thunder right behind the Nuggets in the standings.
Yep.
It goes right now. You can't stop the Northwest Division. I don't know when the hell that happened, but you've got Minnesota leading the West. Then you've got the Nuggets a game and a half back, I think, and then you got OKC a game back of the Nuggets right there in that number 3 spot. So this is it, man. This is a massive game. You owe OKC. SGA has been going crazy. You don't have AG, so how are you going to slow down some of these players? Chet Holmgren's going nuts. He had 8 block shots against you last game. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one, but it's got some juice. I agree that this game tonight has juice.
Peyton Watson made 4 threes last night, by the way. I am very much enjoying the Peyton Watson experience. We wish nothing but the best for Aaron Gordon. Hope he heals up very quickly. Sounds like a scary situation that happened with him. But Peyton Watson getting an opportunity to run with the first team and kind of do his thing is also a joy to watch. He was a team best plus 28 last night in the victory over the Memphis Grizzlies.
They kept laying off him. They were like daring him to shoot, and so he put up 10 of them, man.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, I'll shoot him.
Made
so
4 of them.
He's got the green light.
I'll take Peyton Watson 40% three-point shooter every single time.
Yeah. If Peyton can give you 20 points, oh brother.
Yep.
That was impressive. Peyton was impressive. Joker was impressive. Jamal was impressive.
Jamal was excellent last night. By the way, Jamal is now, I saw this earlier. Jamal has missed 14 games so far this year. You can only miss 17 and still get all NBA honors.
Ooh.
So for the sake of Jamal's future contract and for his own competitive nature and everything like that, I have a feeling Jamal Murray won't be taking many rest nights the rest of the way.
Yeah, no. We were literally having this conversation on Christmas. We were like, Jamal Murray is going to end up being like the second, third, fourth best player in the history of the Denver Nuggets, and he might not make an All-Star game.
That's
because
wild.
He's not going to make it this year because he missed too much time, right?
He's balling out, though.
Yeah, but, I mean, he's not going to make the vote, right?
Okay,
so he's going to have the coach's decision?
He would have to make it on the coach's decision. He does have the benefit of what he did in the postseason last year that everybody saw. He may have missed 14 games so far this year. Yeah. He has played out of his mind when he's been on the court.
Yeah.
I mean, the people around the league know how damn good and how damn special this guy is. Mm-hmm. They got a game plan for him every single night. You got an Avalanche pregame show.
Yeah, peace out, brother.
Yeah, exactly. So Berto will be over on AM 950 if you're missing him here for the next few minutes. I am Nate Kreckman. It is the Kreckman and Lindahl Show. Mark Springer on the other side of the glass. We're doing a round ball rock of radio here for the next hour on Altitude Sports Radio.
Radio pros, man.
That's
the 3 of us right here.
That's the triumvirate, the holy trinity of the 3 of us going at it here today. Have we heard from Dan Orlovsky today here, Spring? I need to hear from Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah, let's do that.
Today here on the show. We heard from Ryan Clark before. Dan Orlovsky is big mad at the mistreatment of Russell Wilson by Sean Payton and the Broncos organization. Here was Dan Orlovsky this morning on Get Up.
What do you think of the way the Broncos are handling this situation?
The way that they've handled it has been unprofessional, and classless. Listen, if you want to bench him, you're absolutely entitled to do that, both as the head coach, general manager, and the owner of the football team. To go to him and say, we want you to alter your contract that we signed off on, or else we are going to threaten to bench you and or bench you, is not a way that you handle business in the NFL. It's certainly not a way that you handle a guy that has been a pro and a Super Bowl champion for 10 plus years. It's not a way that you handle a person that was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. And it's for sure not the way you handle someone who's a Walter Payton Man of the Year. This is not about feelings. No one's going to feel bad for Russell Wilson because of his money, okay? This is about the way that you treat someone that, in many ways, has always been a good representative of your organization and your league. You're absolutely entitled to bench him, whether people agree with it or not. To go to him and say, alter your contract or we're going to threaten to sit you is not the way you do business.
Not the way that you do business in the NFL. I don't disagree with any of those points. The Broncos going and holding the injury guarantee that the organization gave to Russell Wilson, holding that over his head for the sake of playing time, is absolutely messed up. Now, to a certain degree, there is always a financial consideration that is held over a player. That's just the reality of a league that doesn't have fully guaranteed contracts, okay? Some of the other stuff in there, Spring, from Dan Orlovsky. Oh, he's a pro. He's a Super Bowl champ. Not here. It didn't happen here. In fact, it happened at the expense of this organization, but also he's 11-19 as a starter here. And by the way, a quick Google search, guys. Stop citing the Walter Payton Man of the Year thing. Okay? Don't look into what Russell Wilson's foundation was actually donating to charitable endeavors versus what they were, paying Wilson family employees. Don't do a deep dive right there, okay? In fact, I cringe every time I see that patch on the guy's jersey, but that's neither here nor there. Just don't cite that for why Russell Wilson deserved some sort of better treatment, perceived better treatment from the organization. So it's franchise quarterback that Ryan Clark is yelling about. Not here. He wasn't here. He wasn't a winning quarterback here. He wasn't a particularly good quarterback here. He was a quarterback that the organization had to find a way to be able to win with, knowing that it was not going to be sustainable long term. So, look, is what the Broncos did reprehensible in the grand scheme of the business of the NFL? I suppose so, but let's stop short of anointing the greatness of Russell Wilson. That's Seattle Russ. You're not talking about Denver Russ.
Okay, so my opinion on this, it keeps evolving. I keep hearing other people's opinions. It makes other things pop into my head. So I hear that from Dan Orlovsky, and now I'm thinking this. They were going to bench him if he didn't change his injury guarantee, but they didn't bench him.
Right.
But also that implies that they still wanted him around. They still wanted to play him. They just wanted him to change the injury guarantee, because they could have just benched him then. They could have benched him at any time.
Yep.
If it was just about the play. So they stuck with him. Like,
yes.
they wanted to stick with him with a more team-friendly contract, though. Like, they wanted to stick with him. Or else they would have just said, we're benching you.
Right. They kept him on the field. Now, I don't know if they kept him on the field out of fear of whatever retribution could come their way from the league and the Players Association. I don't know if it was out of fear, if they were threatened of, well, you're gonna lose draft picks. This is a violation of the collective bargaining agreement, and so you could potentially face a massive fine and or the loss of draft picks. The Broncos only have 6 picks for next year, and maybe that could have scared them straight.
But I just feel like to
get to a more palatable part of the, sort of the yearly calendar of like, well, all right, we're 7-8 now, probably not making the playoffs. Now's the time we do it.
Like, obviously, you would never bench Patrick Mahomes, but in theory, you could.
Yeah.
Like, it's your choice. It's your team.
You can bench anyone you want at any given time.
I don't know how that is a violation of the collective bargaining agreement.
Because the violation here being that they are holding a contract restructure as a condition for a playing time incentive.
Sure.
Thus, that would have been the violation, the grievance that Russ could potentially then file with the league. Now, what I think is interesting here is we talked to Jeff Legwold last hour. He said agreements could be tough because it would then be Russ's word versus the Broncos' word. But is that actually the case? If the NFL and the NFL Players Association got involved right around that time, presumably there are other witnesses, to use a Sean Payton word, that would be then privy to whatever the internal discussions were that were going on. Like, naturally, when either the league or the union get that phone call, their first question is, what is this all about? And somebody is then going to have to explain it. So I don't think it's just as simple as one word versus another, because there were multiple entities that were involved in all of this. I really could see the possibility this is not the last that we hear of this whole thing, and Russ going as public with it as he is both an effort on his part of PR spin and face saving, and wasn't I treated so poorly, but it also could potentially set them up for a punishment coming from the league office for the Denver Broncos.
So Sean Payton says he's going with Jarrett Stidham right now.
Yeah, he's going to hit him with Stidham
to spark the offense.
Yes.
Because he's better than Russ, or at the very least can run Sean's offense better than Russ can.
Okay, what's funny to me about this is, like, there's the scale of better, right?
Sure. No, we're splitting hairs between Stidham and Russ, I think.
Is Russell Wilson a better athlete than Jarrett Stidham? Obviously. No doubter, okay? Jarrett Stidham is taller than Russell Wilson. And I believe that Jarrett Stidham has the traits that Sean Payton is looking for a starting quarterback in his offense. And I know you're going to say, oh, well, Drew Brees was short. Yeah, Drew Brees could see things out there, man.
Yes.
Drew Brees could process. Drew Brees could make great pre-snap reads, and Drew Brees got the damn ball out.
Yeah.
And that's what Payton wants.
Yet when they were 3-5 and they go to Russ,
that to me is an empty threat.
Sure, but they could have gone with Stidham then.
Could have.
So it tells me that that right there tells me they do concede, even if it's by a small degree, that Russ is better than Stidham.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And I hadn't considered this part of it before.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to 2-5.
Sure.
And they're getting ready for Kansas City next. Kansas City has already beaten them once.
Yep.
Okay? They thought they were going to lose that game.
Probably.
You don't go into that situation. The timing of all of this tells me the Broncos didn't think they were going to win.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
And then they were in Buffalo on Monday Night Football.
And then they were in Buffalo the next week. But if you're 2-6, you've just been swept by the Kansas City Chiefs. You're basically toast. And you're about to have to go to Buffalo, which is a notoriously tough place to win. You only did because there were 12 guys on the field on the final field goal. But nonetheless, the Broncos got that victory, okay? And Russ made a crazy good throw to Courtland Sutton, who made a crazy good play. All of those things happened. We all saw that game. But benching Russ at 2-6 midway point after a loss to the Chiefs is a palatable move for a team that is going nowhere. Instead, they win that game. They're 3-5, and they're right in the midst. They're 2 games into what would become a 5-game win streak, which looks ridiculous, but pretty much everyone on the planet, I don't think the organization was wrong to think we're going to be 2-6, and benching Russ right now makes all the sense in the world. It would look perfectly fine from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
You look back on it now,
and
you're
for
like,
sure.
Yeah, it's Andy and I were talking about it here on the show. Like, bye week, get Stiddy ready to go to Buffalo. This could be it for Russ. And he didn't play great that day. He threw 3 touchdowns, but he was 6 yards per attempt. He got sacked 6 times. Like, the Chiefs turned the ball over 5 times. That's why you beat the Chiefs.
McCole Hardman muffed a punt. I mean, that was a huge play in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of things went your way that day. Kreckman and Lindahl, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to dive into a little bit more of what Russ has actually done as the quarterback of the Denver Broncos. Is this benching as unfair as some national talking heads seem to think it is? We'll discuss next. Yes, it is the Craigman and Lindahl Show on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. We're rolling with you here on a Ska Friday edition of the show. Avalanche in St. Louis, that is coming up at 6 o'clock. That's over on AM 950. Cos will have the Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Spring, what's our injury update from Ball Arena?
Michael Porter Jr., questionable left quad contusion.
He's contused on his left quad. They are already without the services of Aaron Gordon tonight. Hopefully MPJ will be able to go. By the way, got a chance to listen earlier today to Nikola Jokic on the Curious Mike podcast. Fascinating conversation between MPJ and Nikola Jokic. It's funny because the stuff that has garnered headlines out of it, Spring, about his distaste for fame and everything else, that's all stuff we knew about Nikola Jokic. He doesn't like being a famous guy. I think we're all aware of that part of it. The part that I found most fascinating was him talking about basically his commitment to winning, that winning has become a lifestyle, and that's the thing that drives him right now to not let up, that he just can't really think about the idea of even trying to stomach any kind of losing here in Denver because they have gotten so used to winning. It was really cool to listen to him talk about that stuff and sort of the standard that he sets for himself day in and day out. You don't really hear him talk about that all that often, but like his obsessive compulsion to win is what is essentially driving him to somehow keep getting better.
For some reason, you said his obsession with winning, and I haven't thought about this in a long-ass time. Like early 2010s, Charlie Sheen. Winning, you don't do it you do it the Jokic lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
That's how you win, Charlie Sheen.
You get horses and all of that. Yes.
You cut back on the Coca-Cola. Now he's a winner, man. All he does is win.
The Serbian meat pies. Yeah, not as much of those anymore. No, he's fully committed to what is going on. When his career is over, he also we did discover he doesn't want to own a phone when his basketball career is over.
Well, you got to have a phone just for like emergency purposes.
Maybe his wife will have one.
Okay.
Maybe they'll get a landline.
You can go flip phone like our boy Tom Nalen. I mean,
you could do that.
Because that's just pure
predictive texting.
Do those even have those?
That was the good old day, man. That was nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I like texting like that back in the day. You didn't even have to look at your phone.
Sure.
You could do it all off a feel. It's
it's coming back to me now.
It's like the TV remote, like you get the feel of that thing in your hand, exactly, the textile nature of the remote and your thumb. Well, you were able to do that with the 9 keys that were directly in front of you with the various letters per key.
Sure. Yeah. Less thumb usage per text,
Exactly.
More efficient.
I mean, sure, I suppose you get talking to your phone now, but
I hate that. I never do you do that? Because it always gets it wrong for me, and I have to edit it anyways.
You should I don't know, you should speak more clearly to your phone, Spring. I don't know. I feel like mine hears me okay.
Okay.
Yeah. The problem that I have with it is when you have to voice out the punctuation.
Yes, period.
I will be home soon, comma.
That's so odd to me.
I don't like speaking like that. No.
You ever walk past like business guy who's doing that? And he's like super confident about it?
I've been there. Russell Wilson is, I don't know if you've heard this or not, Spring. He's 7th in passer rating. He's 7th in passer rating. How could they bench somebody?
Oh, his numbers are as good as Patrick Mahomes.
7th in passer rating. Okay. He's also 21st in QBR. You may ask yourself, why would I give a crap about these two particular metrics? Passer rating's an efficiency metric. And essentially, if you have a high completion rate and a low interception rate, which is how everyone is coached now, you're going to have a good passer rating, which is what Russ has. He has a high completion rate because everything is short passes, and he has a low interception rate because Sean Payton beat it into his head. You will not make dangerous throws. Turnovers will kill us. And I don't know. That's how the Broncos went from 1-5 to 7-8 as they are right now, which is a pretty impressive turnaround. QBR actually upweights critical plays, clutch situations, down and distance, score differential, field position are all taken into account. And you will get dinged for sack yardage, things like that. That's why Russ's QBR is so down the list. That's why Russ is a much more pedestrian quarterback by that particular metric. Passer rating is not bad. It's just incomplete. Not saying the QBR is perfect. It just takes a lot more into account. And so one of the biggest problems that the Broncos have, and why is Russell Wilson struggling so much in that particular metric? Well, huge part of the problem is he holds the ball forever. It's one of the biggest issues that they've got going on right now. If there's one thing we know about a Sean Payton offense, and we talked about this coming into the season, Spring, you got to get the ball out quick. Okay, that is a hallmark, a staple of what you need to be able to do in that offense. Right now, Russ's time to throw is 3.06 seconds per drop back. That is the third slowest in the NFL. That's him holding the ball forever. I believe only Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud are higher in that particular metric. You go back and look at, and Next Gen Stats goes back to 2018. Drew Brees got the ball out at the fourth fastest pace in 2018, second fastest in 2019. 2020, he was still at 2.66 seconds. So Russ is holding the ball for almost a half a second on average longer than Drew Brees ever did. Like, if people are looking for things about the way that Russ plays that drives Sean Payton nuts when he needs to see a precision and timing-based offense get operated, it's those numbers right there. Okay, it's Russ hanging onto the ball. It is Russ dilly-dallying in the pocket. It is Russ spinning out. It is Russ taking sacks.
The Patriots game was a really good encapsulation of what this season has been for Russell Wilson. 2 touchdowns, no picks.
Yep.
Finishes with 238 yards. Like, and I was asking this the other day. Russ is a Bronco. He hasn't had a game where he throws for like over 300 yards and has that fantasy game where you're like, whoa.
I believe
freaking
his
Russ.
Highest passing yardage game this year was the Miami game.
Probably, and they had to pass a lot because they were down. They allowed 70 points.
Yeah. How many, Kevin Harlan?
Oh, yeah. This money.
69 points.
Plus an extra point.
Mm-hmm.
And the bulk of the game, the offense looks like death.
Yes.
And then there's 2 drives where it actually looks pretty good, or at least not terrible. Like, and that's I feel like what the season has been, and especially the 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Like you mentioned, maybe it was Sean Payton pounding into his head, and he put the fear of God in Russell Wilson that you've just got to take better care of the ball. So I will say this: I prefer it if you're gonna. I'd rather you eat the sack than throw a dumb pick. So at least Russ did that this season.
Yes.
But, he is who he is. He is a middle-of-the-road quarterback who also does not fit the Sean Payton mold. And it's not even like you have to be amazing. Jared Stidham fits the Sean Payton mold.
Yes.
And Stiddy's not amazing. It's all about your skill set as a quarterback.
Sean Payton won games with Taysom Hill, with Jameis Winston, with Teddy Bridgewater. Essentially everybody that wasn't Ian Book, Sean Payton has been able to consistently win games with in his career. The other thing that's funny about it is, this belief of, well, if you empty out the backfield and spread the offense, let Russ cook, look at the way that this could all go like it did on those 2 touchdown drives in the fourth quarter. Also, like, Russ threw what would have been a game-ending interception. Sean Wade just didn't hang on to the ball and came down and suffered an injury on that play. That was a terrible decision by Russ, and he got a huge break on that play. And I'm not trying to dismiss what Russ did. What I'm trying to illustrate for everybody is when Sean Payton goes back through the film, he's going to see a play like that and say, that's a game-losing play that I absolutely cannot have. Now, we got fortunate there, but I can't live on hoping we get the breaks.
Yeah, I'm sure when Sean looks at the film, he's like, that should have been your read there. There's your receiver about to break right there. You're not even looking at him. Like, Russ can't make those throws. I watched Tua make these throws watching this Dolphins-Cowboys game on Sunday where, Tua will throw the ball before the receiver has even made his break, and they're timing throws. It's 1, 2, 3 out. Maybe you get one quick read. Now you're on your second read. That's the type of offense that Sean Payton wants to run.
That was Peyton Manning in Denver.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson, it's a completely different brand of quarterback. It's like Justin Fields, anyone like that you can throw out trading for. Those don't make any sense. That's not the type of quarterback that fits in a Sean Payton system.
Kreckman and Lindahl, Spring, Nate, Bert's around. He's hosting Avalanche pregame right now. We got a lot going on, but we'll take a break, and when we'll come back, there's another item in Russell Wilson's past that I guarantee you has been discussed behind closed doors here in Denver. We'll talk about that next. Nuggets Thunder coming up at 7 o'clock here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Berto will have your pregame at 6:30. Avalanche and Blues dropping the puck in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Over on AM 950. I can tell you that definitively because it's 6:06 right now, Bert.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. The national anthem is actually playing right now in St. Louis.
I learned that the 8 minutes past thing I just learned from you today.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I learned at work today.
And the NHL don't play around. If you miss the 08 or the 38 puck drop, the NHL will fine you. The NBA is kind of like, it's 10. Like tonight's tip-off is 7:10.
Like, LeBron's got to go smack some talcum powder off his hands.
But if they don't tip right exactly 10, ain't nobody freaking out. But the NHL does not play when it comes to puck drop.
They need the game started directly on time.
Yes, they do.
How about this? SGA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder hit the game winner against the Nuggets a couple of weeks ago. They'll see him again tonight. SGA this month in December, he's played 11 games. Bert, 32 points, 7 assists, 3.5 steals per game.
Man, he's so good.
The only other player in the last 40 years with a calendar month, 10 or more games, 37, 3.5. MJ.
Wow.
January of 88. Michael Jordan did the same thing.
I think, right now, where is SGA in the MVP conversation?
He was already first-team All-NBA a year ago. I mean, he's right back in that conversation again this year, and he's on a top-3 team in the Western Conference. You know, Joel Embiid certainly deserves his place in the conversation, as does Nikola Jokic, as does SGA, as does Luka Doncic, as does Jason Tatum.
Do you think the voters will do that thing like they did last year? They're like, we're not giving it to Joker again, and Joel just won it, so let's vote for SGA.
Could be.
Or Luka or whoever sneaks up on
Very well could be. Last year also, I do think that Nikola bowed out. The way that they finished the regular season, and it was to the benefit of the entire team, but the way that he bowed out at the end of the regular season, it was kind of like you sort of had to give it to him.
And that MVP conversation, the conversation around it turned bad, man.
It
broke bad. It was no good.
It was stupid. And what's so funny about it was that Nikola threw all of it back in everybody's face with the way that he went out and played in the playoffs.
Yes, he did.
And just proved the stupidity of the entire discourse that was happening. Sean Payton benches Russell Wilson. It's going with Jarrett Stidham on Sunday against the Chargers. Can't wait. Oh, man, I can't wait. There's been a reaction to this that I have heard, and this was a little bit of what was talked about today on some of the Get Up stuff. You know, the rest of the league is looking at what Sean Payton is doing right now.
Yeah.
The rest of the league is looking at the way that Sean is treating his players.
Yeah.
How can you treat a franchise player like Russell Wilson this way? And I, number one, I do think that guys are looking at that, but also should the Broncos, in pursuit of any player, and it's going to be tough with Russ's dead money, but should they, in their pursuit of any player, if they bid higher than the other guys, they're going to get him. Yeah. That's the way the NFL works.
Yeah, I don't see, there are the kind of athlete who can dictate those kind of situations are at a level that they're not going to sign with the Broncos anyway. And there's not that many guys in all of sports who could do that kind of stuff. Like, that's a little LeBron James move. Like, I'm not going to go to that organization just because I don't like the way they run that organization. Like, most guys are like, what you going to pay me? Is it going to be the best pay? Yeah, well, then I'm just going to go there. Well, who's going to give me the best contract? I'm going to go there. Like, there's a reason that some of these teams that are like the Detroit Pistons are going to sign free agents this offseason. People are going to come play for Detroit, and those suckers are on a 28-game losing streak right now.
Especially in that sport where your body is so damn broken by the game, guys will take the best paycheck that is available to them. Hell, Chris Bryant's on the Rockies. If anybody questions the value of putting more zeros on the check than what anybody else is offering, Chris Bryant, a former MVP and a World Series champion, plays for the Rockies.
Yeah.
He picked that team at a time when he had a lot of suitors. Coming off of that half-a-season stint with the Giants, there were a lot of suitors for Chris Bryant. The Rockies just paid way more than everybody else.
You don't believe that there's players out there looking what's going on in Denver and then thinking, well, I'm never going to play there.
No. I don't think that that's happening right now. No. Everybody wants to be wanted. As soon as an organization comes to you and they're hot for you, players are going to listen, and they listen to the dollars and cents. the other flip side of this is that people might be looking and saying, do I know I can trust Sean Payton? There's a lot of coaches and front office personnel around the NFL that are looking at this and going, can I trust Russell Wilson?
Ooh, okay, I see what you're saying.
This is the same dude that went to ownership in Seattle and tried to run Pete Carroll and John Schneider out of town. Let Russ cook. Let me influence your next coaching hire. Fire the greatest coach in the history of this franchise. Fire the general manager that built up this consistently winning franchise. Russell Wilson tried to essentially exercise a coup in Seattle. It backfired miserably, and they shipped his ass out of town. Now, they did a pretty good job of keeping that under wraps there in Seattle, and that allowed them to be able to get multiple premium draft picks, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 3 players for the services of Russell Wilson to now be a Bronco. I think the Broncos got Russ in a 4th rounder or whatever it was. Like, one of the things that Russ has to accept that happened as a result of all of that is if that guy can try and run Pete Carroll out of Seattle, he could potentially play that card anywhere else that he goes.
Right. He couldn't play it in Denver because Sean Payton just showed up and he just got paid. And do you think
But at the same time, Sean Payton is looking at Russell Wilson and going, that's how you treated your dude?
Yeah.
That's how you treated the guy that you won a Super Bowl with? That's the guy that you went to 9 Pro Bowls with? That's how you treated that guy? What are you going to do with me? Like, there is another aspect of all of this where it's pretty clear. I think that there was a lot of distrust on both sides of the equation here between coach and quarterback here in Denver.
When March rolls around and they cut Russ, how many suitors is he going to have? Like, you only need 2.
No, it's so funny, man. I literally today, and I'm clicking on anything that's remotely close to what is going on right here.
Right, because the worst teams this season aren't good. They're gonna have a rookie quarterback. You know what I'm talking? The Patriots are gonna pick somebody. Like the Bears are they're gonna move on from Justin Fields because they're gonna have that number 1 pick thanks to Carolina. Like all those teams that need a quarterback are gonna find a quarterback in the draft.
Right.
So we're gonna look at is it the middle teams that are gonna be like, yeah, we can use Russell Wilson as a starting QB or?
Okay, so in The Athletic today, they brought up 4 potential team fits for Russ next year.
Oh, okay.
First one was the Raiders.
Oh, hell no. Oh. Can you imagine Russ playing for the Raiders?
Russ could be a Raider. He could compete with Aiden O'Connell. Are they going
to keep Antonio Pierce as their head coach? Are they going to get rid of that interim tag because of how the Raiders have played here these last couple of weeks? Or do you think that Davis is just like, he's not that kind of guy? He's going to go out and find somebody else.
See, I don't know, because he probably should have kept Rich Bisaccia last time around, and instead he blew all of that up, and he decided to hire Josh McDaniels. So the Raiders were brought up, but that's an organization that desperately needs to get a young quarterback of the future. The Vikings. I would assume they're going to bring Kirk Cousins back.
Right, I was about to say, is Kirk at the end of his deal? I thought
he's on a 1-year deal.
Oh, wow.
He's on a 1-year deal.
No, right, but he feels like Kirk Cousins feels like he is the Minnesota Vikings almost. They're starting Jaron Hall. They're starting a 5th round rookie.
Another organization that probably needs to be looking at a quarterback of the future, but Cousins would seemingly be the perfect bridge for it. Would Russ want to do that gig? Plus, Kevin O'Connell wants, much like Sean Payton, he wants accuracy over the middle of the field, and he wants you to be able to see the entire field. Kirk Cousins does those things. Yeah, Russell Wilson does not. It's hard to see that happening. New England.
Oh, brother. New. They're going to move on from Bill Belichick and replace Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi with Russell Wilson? I guess it depends who the head coach they hire there is going to be.
They could have a top 2 pick, and if so, they're drafting a quarterback.
You're right. Say hello to Caleb or Drake May or somebody like that. Man, that's a weird one. New England.
The Washington Commanders.
But once again, like Ron Rivera ain't going to survive this season, right? He's going to get got. This organization, Ron Rivera made a push to get Wilson back in 2022. Now going forward here, it seems like that organization will have a brand new head coach. It very well could be Bill Belichick, but would he end up with the Washington Commanders? I don't know. I really don't believe there will be a robust market for the services of Russell Wilson. Yeah, I always
Can I give you guys a couple teams?
Please do.
Yeah, dude. Bro.
As a backup.
Tennessee?
As a high-level backup.
Mm-hmm.
The 49ers. Or the Rams.
I don't know. What's Russ going to take? I mean, can you afford the price tag for a second?
How much do you think he's going to get? I could see him signing for like a 1-year.
Quarterback play in the NFL is terrible. There's going to be a place for Russ, right?
The Broncos will still be paying a large freight for Russell Wilson.
Yes.
He'll be getting his dough.
Exactly.
He could presumably sign for the league minimum anywhere.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Like if Brock Purdy continues to struggle a little bit, if Matt Stafford gets hurt, just because I look at Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay as two coaches who could maybe work with Russ.
I don't know. I thought Sean Payton was the same way, though. You know what I mean? Like when you're like offensive geniuses should be able to work with anybody, not just particular people. If you're the offensive football mind that we all think you are, you should be able to work with anybody and develop a scene for him.
Like if you need, if someone gets hurt or you need a change of something, you tailor. I mean, if Russ is playing. Nate, it's why Brock Purdy was an MVP candidate, because he plays with Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, and McCaffrey.
Isn't Russell Wilson just a slightly better version of Trey Lance?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And at this declining stage of his career, and they couldn't kick Trey Lance out the door fast enough.
He's better than Trey Lance. That's how bad Trey Lance is. I'm sorry. Trey Lance is really bad.
Wait. We're taking shots at Trey Lance?
Yeah,
I want to get in on that.
Isn't okay. The Niners thing is interesting.
I hadn't thought about that. You know what? I hadn't thought about Russ going to a good team.
And with the Rams,
Matt Stafford's got a history of elbow issues.
I was going to say, don't they already have an aging quarterback?
Right? Isn't there even some speculation that Stafford just calls it a career after this year? Just says, you know what? I'm good. I'm retiring.
I read an interesting piece today, by the way, suggesting that it is very possible that should by the end of the year, everybody looks at all these quarterback candidates for MVP. So the Lamar Jacksons, Brock Purdy's, Dak Prescott's, Josh Allen's of the world. And what if there is a determination that maybe he was right there all along and everyone was just looking at, not wanting to look at him? What if Matt Stafford was actually the best quarterback in the NFL this year? That he could be the dark horse MVP should anybody have a rough game the rest of the way. It seemingly would be Lamar's award to win right now.
Yeah.
But Matthew Stafford guiding that we have nobody that you've ever heard of before Rams team. I just turned Puka Nacua into a franchise wide receiver, that Matthew Stafford deserves a better place in the MVP conversation.
He does have some fairly ridiculous numbers.
His numbers are really good.
I'm looking at his numbers right now, and they're all top 10, and they're all pretty stupid. He's got almost 3,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, the fourth best QBR in the NFL right now.
Quarterback MVPs almost never come from downstanding teams.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that year. Remember the Jokic's first MVP? Weren't they a 6 seed that year? 5 seed, whatever they were. And it was argued, even though Russell Westbrook had done the same thing, but that could be the possibility of what could happen with the MVP race, that maybe Stafford deserves a better place in the conversation. Man. To me, it feels like reaching. It feels like it's Lamar's award to lose now, especially after they beat the ever-living snot out of the Niners on Christmas night, but still.
Right. Maybe Christian. You're right. Maybe Christian, but Stafford's numbers are stupid. At 35 years old, man, he's going to hit, he's going to hit 4,000 plus yards.
Yep.
And that's like once you get to that level, you got to put a spotlight on somebody like that at least a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. At 8-7 with the Rams team that's been as up and down as they've been this year,
And he missed a couple games this season, didn't Matt? Matt Stafford?
I think
he missed a couple games with injury.
Because the backup is Carson Wentz. I don't remember Carson Wentz playing.
Yeah, I can't even remember for the life of me who played, but I remember Matt missing a couple games.
Huh. You know what? I have no idea, brother. I guess let's look. Oh, no. Yeah, Rippon played a game.
Brett Rippon.
Yeah, your boy.
Brett Rippon did play a game.
Russell Wilson or Brett Rippon? What are you going with?
Shut your mouth. No, man. No.
Yeah, this is the other thing about Russell Wilson, though, that I brought up earlier in this segment. Like, now that you have to consider it, he comes with drama, man.
Yeah. And
Russell Wilson walks in the door with drama.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself if you're ready for that.
The poor Russ and the humility and Sean Payton's a big fat jerk and everything else. The reaction that we got out of Ryan Clark, out of Dan Orlovsky today.
It's working, Nate. It's working because people on the the text line's kind of split between, Russ, kick rock, and what the hell, Sean Payton's a jerk face.
Yeah.
Is basically what the text line's saying. But it's worked out for Russ because everybody's defending Russ. Everybody loves Russ, and we were hammering that dude earlier in the season.
Russell
here in this
Wilson
city.
has become the sympathetic figure
Yes.
in all of this,
Can I give you the
find
word?
hilarious.
He's become a martyr.
Yeah.
That's what he's become.
Yeah.
Probably everything he's always wanted to be, actually.
It's all that was good, Spring.
Yeah.
It was Hackett's fault. And now it's Sean Payton's fault for never believing in him. And look at the 26 touchdowns.
Yeah.
26 touchdowns. Well, yeah, that's sixth most in the NFL. The Broncos are also 21st in total touchdowns. They have 7 rushing touchdowns, okay?
It's not a fun product to watch.
And they're also top 10 in punts. Like, the touchdowns had to come from somewhere. Russ can still make some throws in the red zone. God, he made some terrible throws in the red zone the other night, though, against New England. And they're not an efficient red zone team.
No. He looked bad. He looked bad for most of that New England
So
game.
pardon me for not being all that excited about the passer rating and the touchdown passes of a guy that's captaining an offense that's scoring 21 points a game.
There's been a lot of national people throwing around some of these Russell Wilson numbers, acting like I think they've looked at the numbers and haven't watched these games.
Right.
Because you can't watch the Denver Broncos play these games and think that Russell Wilson is, next level good or is part of the reason that they're winning these games.
Are they good on third downs? Are they good in the red zone?
No.
God, third and long is still a guaranteed.
Yeah.
Christian Barmore of the Patriots had a career night the other night against these dudes. All these Chargers pass rushers are so disappointed that Russ isn't going to be playing this week because third and long is just a giveaway for this offense. It's death. And if you're going to be the guy, the franchise guy, the Mahomes, the Lamar, the Josh Allen, whomever it may be, you got to be able to convert those plays. And Russ just takes too many sacks in those situations.
Are you going to change your mind about anything if Jarrett Stidham balls out or sucks it up? Like anything in your mind changes about this team going forward, how Jarrett looks this weekend?
I'm curious to watch Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah.
I go into the Stiddy era with an open mind. I'm ready to hit him with Stidham, Bert. Come on.
Stidham, baby.
I'm ready for it.
No, this is going to be terrible. This game is going to be all kinds of suck this weekend.
I'm wide open to the possibilities, okay?
No, brother, no.
We have got the Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder coming up next. Will Nikola Jokic miss a shot? Tune in and find out tonight right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. For Mark Springer and Mark Bertinoli, my name is Nate Kreckman. Have a lovely evening, everybody. We'll see you later.